Okay, solar heater project stage 1. These are two. This is just one of them, but I have two old skylights left over from the repair in the sunroom where the ceiling had to be replaced. These were the two old skylights that used to be in there. I had them cut them out and remove them, save them for me. What I'm going to attempt to do today is take it apart. What I'm going to salvage is the glass and the frame the glass is in to create a solar heater for the garage. They're going to mount over on that wall with an inlet and an outlet, and there will be two of them, and I'll show where they're going to mount, even though there's a lot to move out here because everything's stacked against the house. There's the second one. You're going to do them one at a time. But they'll mount on this south facing wall, which it's early in the morning. Sun's just coming through. But this side of the house receives sun all day long. And I obviously can't mount them on the front because there's a garage door there. So that's basically the idea. And I'll pause this for now and continue to take them apart. Alright, after removing the frame, I discovered the outer shell, it's double pane, is tinted to reduce the heat in the sunroom. I don't want that. I don't want to decrease any heat coming through. So I've taken it apart and I've got a clear sheet underneath and the frame and the outer shell, which I will not be using. Alright, step 1 complete, and now I have two pieces of plexiglass clear and frames that I might be able to use, may not be able to use. Don't know yet. I'll determine that at a later time. Alright, a little late start here, but I got my materials, got my insulation. Already cut the first frame out, securing it now with some screws, and plexiglass is ready for a frame. I've got metal sheathing, which I'll paint black, and an edge for the glass to fit in. So I'll take this a little as I go. Alright, one small mistake. Unfortunately, the backing board that I bought is an inch too short. Fortunately, I had a leftover laminated board that was long enough. And for panel number 2, I have some scrap, which I can lengthen that board with and make it long enough. But I'll do it on round 2. This is round 1. Round 1, the frame is assembled. The backer board is in place. I still need to cut holes, larger holes. There's 2 holes there already. These holes will have to be increased to get the hole flanges that I failed to buy at the store, which I have to go back and get, so that the vent fan can fit on the top one, on the top one, and the intake vent will fit on the small lower one. This whole assembly will be mounted on the wall with the vent coming out somewhere, I guess, over behind the packs there. That's where one of them's going. The other one's going over here, right about there. So I'll have one there, the intake down there, the exhaust up here. and another one over here with the exhaust up there and the intake down there. But it's coming along. Next, got the insulation cut and sealed with silicone. Okay, stage 2. The box is assembled. The ventilation holes for the grates are in, ready to cut the intake in the bottom and cut the outflow and mount the fan in the top, but the fan won't be here until tomorrow. And the solar cell that charges and runs it won't be here until Saturday. But this is all ready for paint. And that's before, and I'll take a picture after. It's jet black and should absorb heat fairly well. I still got to cut the intake on the bottom and the outflow and the fan on the top, and the glass already test fitted it, fits perfect, and I have to seal all that up. Update. Wanted to totally solar power this unit, and unfortunately my first purchase was supposed to be a 12 watt or 12 volt 20 amp solar panel. This one turned out to be 12 volts but only 5 watts, not powerful enough to turn the motors. So order number 2, obviously larger size. This is actually a 20 watt 12 volt. I'm not going to not use this one. I'm going to combine these two together. Give me 25 watts at 12 volts. And of course I've got wiring and stuff here to do. But progress on container number 2 is coming along. It's insulated. It's laid out. I'm starting to cut the heat exchanger pieces, and I still got to mount the motor and get it ready. Over to the first one. I need to clean off good now, but it is complete. The fan is in place. There's also, a little hard to see, but right about there is a thermostat. The thermostat won't allow the motor to come on until the top of this unit reaches 115 degrees. And of course the corresponding cables come out here to hook up this end to the solar panel and this end to the solar panel. So the current will flow from the solar panel down through the thermostat. When it switches on, the fan comes on, sucks air out of here and blows it through the hole. The intake vent, also cut and ready, is just intake. It just brings the air in from the house. How does that out on the wall? Over here on the wall, that I also am insulating thoroughly. Not through yet, but I'm working on it. Because the efficiency of this heater is only going to be downsized by the efficiency of how much heat I can retain in the room. But this will be the outflow from the heater into the room, and this will be the intake for the cold air coming out of the room to be heated. And they mount, open the door, so one thing I've noticed in a lot of videos on building these things, they show you how to build the box, but they don't show you how to hook it up to the house. They just said hook it up to your ductwork. Well, in this case, there's no ductwork. I had to design my own. So it's going to be mounted right here. There's where it goes in the house. There's where it comes out of the house. Obviously, these aren't sticking out far enough. So I'm going to have to alter that hole and that hole to make them stick through further so that they'll insert into the back of the panel. But that's pretty much it. This is the worst time of day that I have the southern sun, which is in that direction. A few trees in the way, but it's mostly heated during the day. And the morning sun, before it gets behind the house there, is even better. Now as summer progresses, we get into midwinter in January and February, which is mid-January already, but the sun will periodically go higher and higher where it'll miss that roof line, and they'll get good sun on this side of the house. Kind of hard to tell right now because the sun's got a cloud going by, but this side of the house warms very efficiently. And there will be two of these panels here, one here and one down there, or above the kayaks. So I'll have two heaters running versus one. And of course I've still got ongoing insulation needs. This door is the worst because garage doors are all but impossible to efficiently seal. I've got some plastic barriers coming to go around the edges. And I have grand total, I've got R9 on the door as soon as I finish it. I bought 3 panels, not enough, need to go back and buy one more. And then cover this with some kind of sheathing to seal it, like plastic, and maybe a little bit of fiberglass in between. Don't want to put any more weight on that door than absolutely necessary. But you can see my crack over there. There's also a crack at the bottom, and another crack at the bottom over there. So these sides have to be resealed with new rubber. It seals pretty good along the floor and along the top. It's just those two sides where I'm having problems. But I'll get this all hooked up, mount the solar panels, and videotape some more later. Okay, just a quick update. Insulation is in on the south wall, and the ducts are also installed. The second solar heat collector is built and ready to put on the outside wall. This wall is not complete, but we're working on it. And that outer wall also is going to get plastic sheeting. It's have no outside vapor barrier on the exterior of the house. It's just simply fiberboard with cedar siding nailed directly to it. There's no vapor barrier at all, so I've got to cover this inside wall with a plastic sheathing. The garage door is complete and insulated and no longer giving me any cold leakage. And last but not least, the first solar heat collector is installed, but the solar array to power all of that hasn't been installed yet. Still working on the solar tracker to make it work correctly. And still got wall insulation here Michael and I are going to work on today, and floor insulation here. As you can see, I still have several sections uninsulated to complete there. Now that's as far as I've gotten. I'll update this later today or maybe in the morning. On another note, solar heater project number 2. I've received my water to air heat exchanger. The electric fan is going to be connected to it to blow the heat from the radiator into the room. The 12 volt electric pump that'll circulate the hot water from the tanks through the exchanger to put heat into the room. And I'm going to have another pump running to the old pool solar heater. So it'll be both passive heat collection, bringing hot water from the sun into the tank, and also two 12-volt 300 watt heating coils, which will run off a solar array I'm putting on the roof, which will also have solar tracking with it to supply enough power to run the heating units to warm the water. And of course, all that's going to run off a 12-volt deep cycle battery that the solar panel will charge, that will run the motor and the fan and the temperature control units that are control when the fan comes on, when the pumps come on, and when I actually have heat. But that'll be for a later project. Okay, just a quick update. Insulation is in on the south wall, and the ducts are also installed. The second solar heat collector is built and ready to put on the outside wall. This wall is not complete, but we're working on it. And that outer wall also is going to get plastic sheeting. It's have no outside vapor barrier on the exterior of the house. It's just simply fiberboard with cedar siding nailed directly to it. There's no vapor barrier at all, so I've got to cover this inside wall with a plastic sheathing. The garage door is complete and insulated and no longer giving me any cold leakage. And last but not least, the first solar heat collector is installed, but the solar array to power all of that hasn't been installed yet. Still working on the solar tracker to make it work correctly. And still got wall insulation here Michael and I are going to work on today, and floor insulation here. As you can see, I still have several sections uninsulated to complete there. Now that's as far as I've gotten. I'll update this later today or maybe in the morning. Well, as you can see, with some sheer effort, I have the thermometers and the solar panel linked and ready for install. I have enough wire to reach the fans that are on the solar heaters on the side of the house. And I've come up with a design model for building a frame that will be mounted in a wooden box with, if I can find it real quick, here it is, an electric motor which will turn it across the sky and follow the sun with a solar tracker that I'm very poorly built, and I'm going to rebuild because I've got plenty of them that I can build for pennies. I think I've got a grand total of maybe $2 in these parts, free shipping. So I'm going to make one more, a little more permanent on actual PCB board that'll be mounted along with this small solar panel, which will turn this motor. Hopefully. We'll see. But anyway, yeah, that's where we stand at the moment. Downstairs in the basement, however, We have sealed the garage and the wall, which now has a vapor barrier on it. And I'm currently working on this wall that has no insulation in a lot of spots. Slowly working my way over. And I'm also going to vapor barrier it as well. These two windows are going to be replaced with thermopane windows from Home Depot. $54 for a quick swap out. I've got two more in the den there I have to swap out too. So I'm buying 4 total, $54 a piece. And then all this will be sealed up. Over here on the outer wall, we're now mounted. You see the intake and exhaust vents. Light kind of shining through that one there. And they are mounted out here on the outer wall. And they collect pretty good bit of heat, actually. But that's only during the sunshine. As soon as it gets dark, there's no heat. Thus the need to finish the solar heat project with the solar panel and the solar panels to run it with, which are coming later in the month. Hope to have it finished sometime late in March, before it starts getting too warm to use it. Anyway, that's it for now. One quick final note. You may have noticed I did buy a Mr. Heater to try to warm it up out here where I could finish working on all of this. It's been in the 30s here, and this basement is unbelievably cold. So I haven't been able to finish this outer wall. And Michael's work schedule and my schedule just haven't linked up. And a friend of ours is going to move in with us and live in the den in the basement. Chris, he's not here yet to help me either. So, kind of stalled on this, but this actually worked. I just had a little bit of propane left in my camping stove tank and hooked it up. It lasted most of the night, but ran out. But there again, we've been camping with that unit about 4 times. So it's empty. I've got another one out front I'm going to try. This actually warms the temperature up out here into the 60s. It's just it uses a tremendous amount of fuel to do it. Anyway, it does work.